Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Thanks for starting it up, Sage, if you're there still. Right. Javier, you're around as well?
He's in the list.
He's in the list. Okay. Right. Let me just share this. Let's start this up. Oops, 1 second. Any small issues while we're just getting started up? Anything to cover? Because the main bulk of it, I think, is going to be about the CI issues that we've got and looking at Travis to GitLab.
No, well, I've been pretty busy the last few weeks.
Was GitLab, was GitHub Actions able to use Docker containers when you were playing around with it?
Yes, well, on that, I mean, I know you've been working on something, I've been working on it as well. So I've got I've got the CI running in GitHub Actions now.
Yeah. And is that using Docker containers?
Yeah.
All right, okay. Do you have a link for that so I can open it up as well and we can have a look at that?
Yeah, I mean, I've literally just done it in the last hour. So,
All right, okay.
so yeah, it wasn't difficult actually. I'll put the link in Slack, I suppose. Yeah.
Oh no, if you could put it in Zoom, because I'll be able to open it a bit easier.
Okay. I've got Zoom in on my iPad, so but you could probably find it. Go to my
Okay.
GitHub.
Go to your GitHub. So wait. Well, let's go to there
Yeah.
first. And yeah.
And then I don't know if you can you search my repositories? Yeah, click on
Yeah.
repositories
Yeah.
up the top. Just type in Linux. Oh, there it is.
It's the very top one.
Yeah, and if you click on actions, the very latest one, I know it fails on one. No, go to the failure,
I'll go to the failure. Okay.
because the failure isn't anything to do with GitHub Actions, I believe.
Let's have a look at the failure. See what it's failing on. CentOS 6, we had that working. All right, yeah. I think it's just having a problem. I think restarting this job might, unless it's changed recently, unless I'm just wondering if anything's changed there.
I'm not sure if my list of images is up to date, actually, because this is going back a month or so, my fork. So I don't know if it's that, but yeah, I've literally just done this in the last hour or so. So
okay, it would be great to have that comparison as well, so we can have a look at what's going on. Do we have someone new here as well in the list? I think I just saw someone, and if they've got any queries, they can, because we can maybe deal with some other issues first and talk about those things, and then go into the main bulk of what we're talking about. Or if they want to put it in the chat, or just watching. So this is on the main branch, right? Or is it?
not on the master branch, no.
All right. Okay, I thought you said main there. All right.
Main
So
is the name of my workflow.
right. Okay, that's what it's called over here.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, that's just doesn't have to be called that.
I'm just trying to see. No, that looks like it's using the latest one at this side. So it's just a matter of, I mean, the kitchen is the same as the one in the template formula, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there's nothing new there.
Yeah, well, maybe it is just a network issue
Yeah, I
or
think maybe
a
just restart
temporary
that.
issue or something.
Are you able to kick that job off again? Just that one?
I'm new to having like a matrix like that. What about in that gear symbol up there? I don't know
Yeah,
if that's.
I don't think I'll be able to do it though. I think you'll have to do it yourself.
Oh, right, good
You'll
point.
you'll have an option there that I won't have.
Yeah, good point.
Oops, that's the wrong button.
Rerun jobs, rerun all jobs.
Should be able to rerun just the one.
I don't believe I can.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, this is work in progress.
Right. So looking at, I don't know if I need to, do I need to make the font a bit bigger there? Just to make it a bit easier to read? Set that has, right, that should be a bit easier to read. Right, so taking an example here from, where is it? So what I did is I started with the OpenVPN formula only because that had the latest matrix and there were a few things I was testing on that recently. So this is the last build that was actually working, which will be a comparison with what I've done in GitLab. So the way I went through it, I obviously just tried to translate the Travis YAML as much as I could using the basis from our Salt image builder, the work we've done there. So if I pull up, let's see, let's just go through it line. Just so what because this is more of a direct translation, so there's bound to be some issues that I've missed. So if we can go through this a bit carefully, and if you can see anything that I've missed, just mention it now so that I can adjust that before I start trying to roll this out across a few of the formulas, if we're going to even do that. But just having a look at what I've done here as a comparison. So let me just show you how it runs. So if we go to, where am I? Right, the pipelines are over here. And so I'm just trying to think of the best view to give you. Or maybe I'll just start a new pipeline. So let's run a pipeline on, just wondering where I got up to. What was the last thing I was doing? Refactor, set final. Right, okay, yeah, this is what I was doing here. So let's just push that, because I haven't pushed that so far. So this is how it would actually, so just to be clear here, origin here is pointing to the actual GitHub repo. So you can imagine that would be the main repo in our salt stack formulas. And I'm using GL stand for GitLab. So when I push this now through to GitHub, it will run the sync. It runs it every 5 minutes, but it pretty much picks up anything within that time. So anything after that time, it picks up immediately. So if I pull up Zulip as well, it will give us those messages as we're going through it. So let's log in with GitHub. So let's mark, what am I doing here? Right. And yeah, so if I push this through to, hold on, yeah. So I'm pushing that through to GitHub, except something's changed there since then. So let's see what's changed. Right. Okay, so it's diverged there. So what I have to do is right. Let's try that again now. Right. So that's pushed it through to GitHub, which is that's actually the Zulip kicking off. You can see the pipelines come through. I was going to try and show in GitHub that the push has just been made. So if we go over here, so I just pushed this through and immediately GitLab's picked it up and it's running the pipeline there. Actually, I should have showed you a pull request. That would have been better because you could have seen how that looks. I'll see if I've got an old pull request here that shows it just appears the same way Travis does. It's nothing particularly special. And you can't see it here. Oh, you can see it here, can't you? You can see it under checks. So this could be a bit better in terms of the messages here, but I don't know how to control that. But you should be able to, or is this the, oh, that's what it is. The Windows is running there as well. So it should be this one. That doesn't look like it either. It'd be better if I just showed you a pull request straight so you can see it, so you can see what's happening in Travis. We'll come to that in a minute. But anyway, looking at this pipeline over here, what we've got is instead of reproducing all those jobs again, we were always planning to use pre-commit anyway. So what I've done here is I've left pre-commit running most of the checks. I wasn't able to get it working with commitlint because if you look over here in what we've currently got for pre-commit, it uses a hook for Travis.
That's right.
Over here. So it uses commitlint Travis, which obviously won't work in GitLab. And we've got something of our own we do here in GitLab to make it work. We have to sort of manually make it look at all the commits that are in that pull request or whatever. So it will do it in a separate job over here. But otherwise, everything else runs in pre-commit, and we'll look at that in a minute. So yeah, just standard sort of procedure of what we're used to. I'm just going to not run a semantic release there. Actually, no, we should run it so you can see it. And one thing that's nice about GitLab is that if we had, numerous jobs here, like our Salt image builder's got 65, 70 jobs, runs them all at the same time. So the thing we don't know right now is, are we limited to how many minutes or we can use with GitLab? As far as I know, open source projects, even without applying for one of the tiers, they have unlimited minutes. I don't know if I'm right about that. So that's one of the things I'm concerned about, especially if we start rolling this across, 100 formulas, and then we find out there's some sort of limit. So I don't know how to find that out in terms of the documentation. I looked around, I couldn't find anything specific. Any idea about this? Just 1 second, if I think GitLab for.
Well, I know they're very generous for public projects.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's completely unlimited. Something tells me it might not be, but
Well, this is why I'm worried, because it's saying there's 50,000 minutes
for
open source
projects. But that seems to suggest what if you've applied.
But even what does that mean? Is that 50,000 that renews, or is that 50,000 per? I mean, I don't think it tells us the duration. Whereas GitHub Actions, would that always be? Is that essentially always going to be free CI there? Is that what we know so far, or?
Whenever I whenever the GitHub Actions page, they suggested that almost the same as GitLab, for open source projects, the minutes were unlimited, but they use the same base language. So depending on how you interpret that, for example, reading that GitLab, I can say, okay, 50,000 minutes is for all the open source projects, and that's it. So, or
I
for
mean,
each individual project.
is that per repo as well? I mean, when it says a project, what does that actually even mean? I mean,
I,
yeah,
that does that line means 50,000 CI minutes for all the open source projects together, or for each individual open source project?
yeah,
And the same base language goes with GitLab Actions. They say, okay, we are free for open source projects, but then you read it, depending on how you read it, maybe they are being like too. So I don't know if you
Well,
can try or.
in GitLab, you can have an organization. So, and all of your repositories would come under that organization. And I
the
can only
minutes.
assume that perhaps that 50,000 is for an organization.
Yeah, I mean, we're making so many assumptions here, and so whatever we do next is going to be fraught with danger in the sense that at a later time we could end up where we are with Travis right now. So we already have that in the sense of we've got our organization there, starts like formulas,
Mm-hmm.
and we've got a section for the image builder. Obviously, any formulas would go under a new section. Uh, yeah, and I mean, like I said, if you look at the pipelines here, it's just I mean, I really like the way. I mean, does GitHub Actions all run like when you've got 10 or 15 jobs? Do they all run at the same time?
From my basic experience of today, I think it runs at 5 at a time or something.
Oh, does it? I mean, see, actually, there's 82 jobs here, and apart from obviously running within each stage, so the lint will run first, of course, and doesn't run the build, but that all runs at the same time, the whole build, and there's like almost 70 jobs there, so it's really fast when it's that concurrency is fantastic.
Well, I'm looking at the kind of the documentation page, and it says on a free account you have 20 concurrent jobs.
Does it? Well, we seem to get all of them running at the same time here.
No, I'm talking about GitHub here.
Oh, GitHub, sorry, right, okay, yeah,
So I don't know why I saw something like starting 5 jobs or something like that, but yeah, even 20 is less than unlimited.
yeah. It's just what we don't want to do is have so many jobs running, in the month or whatever the time allocation is, that we end up running out of minutes again. And that's the fear here
Mm-hmm.
because we don't know what we're up against. I mean, there's this thought: should we be going back to the ideas we had originally? Should we be trying to just get Travis running again rather than going through all this? Oh, what done here? If you know what I mean. So, would it be? What was the pricing here again? What's going on with Travis? Where's the main Travis site?
I mean, I don't know, Travis doesn't give me good vibes really of what's
No, the
going
way
on with it.
the way they pulled the rug out from under everyone's feet. There's so many complaints. I mean, there was no clear documentation. There wasn't email unless there were emails sent to them. Maybe they sent an email out to everyone, but we obviously didn't receive that. Meaning it got through to maybe some of the salt stack people, but not to us. I don't know, but it doesn't sound like it because everyone else is complaining about the same, that it just suddenly stopped working without any notification, without any warnings or banners or anything. Where's the actual main page here? Is it .com? Is that what I'm trying to get to? I'm trying to get to the place where it tells you all the pricing and
Yeah,
everything.
.com is the kind of the newer interface.
It's still showing me. Where's the actual standard documentation? Perhaps. Where's the pricing?
I saw billing down there, hosted billing.
No one to Travis CI pricing. Okay, that's the one. Plans. Except it keeps going over here. Okay, so the free one is only 10,000 credits. Is it our credits minutes? I can't remember what the credits are now because obviously we've never had faced this before. So let's have a look. Okay, so here we have one concurrent job for £69 a month, $69 a month, does that mean actually just one job in the whole? So in one run, that'd be one job running at a time.
It seems to be, yeah.
I mean, that's terrible. That's that's really bad. And even $69 a month. I mean, that's even if we did set up our sponsorship that we were planning to do. I don't know if that's gonna. I wouldn't want to spend $69 a month on one concurrent job
Hmm.
running. So we are done with Travis, aren't we? One way
I
or
think
another.
so, yeah.
It's not really worth maybe discussing that at all. I mean, it's sad because some people are even mentioning that if you look at the main documentation, it says free for open source forever, and for them to do this and not, and you have to sort of beg for credits to keep that, keep topping up all the time. It's just that's not sustainable. This here, 50,000 CI minutes. If I'm taking, let's have a look at our pipeline that ran. So if I'm having a look at this, and I don't know, the total would be, oh yeah, it comes up over here. So if I go to jobs, it's about a minute and a half. That's not still running. So if you said 3 minutes per the average 620, I'm just thinking about, 20 to 25 minutes. I'm thinking per repo, 20 to 25 minutes every time someone runs a PR or runs a merge
Hmm.
in a month. How much would that really come out to? Trying to sort of get an estimation in my head. Say there's about 10 runs a day, 250 times 30. So we appear to be running less than 10,000 minutes a month. That's a really ballpark figure. Does that sound about right?
Um, how much? What did you said? 20
So, so,
minutes per repo.
I'll say 25 minutes every time someone kicks off the CI.
Yeah, and then
And
what did you say for per day?
oh
What that
yeah,
might
sorry,
be
per day.
10,
10 per
10
day,
maybe?
10 per day, and then across the month. So we're looking at maybe about 7,500 minutes. I reckon that's conservative estimate. I think we have a lot
Hmm.
more than that, where there's lots of restarts
Well,
being done all the time.
yeah, even if we doubled that though, that's
Oh, I need to
50.
I need to factor in also is I did want to get back to running all of the formulas once a week in order to do the master testing, and that would be then a
Hmm.
lot more significant because that would be say 25 minutes per run across 100 repos, and that's also four times a month. What am I missing here? Four times a month. So you got to add that in as well.
25. I mean, 50,000 doesn't seem unreasonable, does it?
If it's a month, is it 50,000? So
Oh, right, I see.
it depends on what that actually means. That up to 50,000 and you have to start paying after that one. What does that mean? Yeah, 50,000 minutes. Oh, this doesn't sound good. Upcoming changes. Now this was only in September. Right, so the average users only use 400 per month. Wait, I think this is talking about because currently it was two. If I remember from my personal account, I think it was 2,000. So they're saying they've reduced that to 400, but that's for private repos. I don't know if that's for actual. All right, we bring in our own. Oh, this is concerning because we just don't know what we're playing with here. Will remain unchanged.
Yeah,
Open.
look, if you go up, if you are eligible, so it says something
Yeah.
about, yeah,
All right, so it's
limits will
50,000 per month.
remain unchanged for open source. I mean, I
Yeah, but
think we are going to have to apply for this.
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
if you go ahead, if you go up, it says that open source will match gold tire. So
yeah, yeah. And
Per
here it says
group,
here.
per
So,
month.
so if you look here, it says 50,000 minutes per group per month. So hopefully, I think we've got some space there to play with because I'm
Hmm.
estimating say 1,500 or maybe 20,000 minutes, I suppose what will end up happening is if we do move to GitLab and it works really well, we might end up using it more in a way. And one of the reasons why we used to limit Travis to 6 runs was because Travis was only running a certain number, per, and I didn't factor in also the image builder. So just going back to that for 1 second with the calculator, the image builder runs, 80 jobs, and it runs it once a week. So it's 4 times a month. And let's have a look at what it does here. This is the image builder here. Just so we know what we're playing with, because this will all be under the same organization. So we've got to consider this. Jobs. Okay, so very roughly, most of them run within about 2 minutes, but some of them do take longer, a lot longer. So they're all 2 minutes that I can see here, 3 or 4. These are the ones that take a bit longer. So it's 10 for OpenSUSE.
Didn't it have an estimate at the top, saying 20 minutes or something like that?
But that I don't think it's that 20 minutes there, is it? I think it's the overall total. Actually, what am I looking? The total's at the bottom, isn't it? No, they haven't got a total at the bottom. No, it's going to be each one of these added up, isn't it? Each job added up.
That will be that 20 minutes, though, won't it?
You think that's what it is? I'd think it's the actual overall total, isn't it? I'd assume it's the total of all your jobs.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that is world clock time or.
No, this is how long it took. It ran all of them at the same time, and obviously it did the 3 sets of jobs. So the lint first, then the build, then the release. But altogether, it took 20 minutes. I've got a feeling it's going to be the total of each one of these added up together. That'd be my assumption. I really wouldn't think it's just how long it took to run everything, because otherwise you could stack, 300 concurrent jobs and say it only took 20 minutes. It's going to be the total for sure. Well, we've got to be.
So it's world clock time.
So what I'm saying here is, if we've got, say,
right. Well, so how many jobs are in that build phase then?
Let's say there's 75, and most of them take, we say an average of about 4 minutes. Even though most of them are 2 minutes, there are some that take 10. So I know there's only a couple that take 10, but let's say 4 minutes. So that's 75, 4 minutes, which gives us 300 for every run. And then that happens 4 times a month at least. And then the extras that let's say we run that 10 times a month, because we run obviously certain merge requests there as well. At least 3,000 plus the 17,500 from earlier. We're still underneath. We've got room to breathe there. If we do get if we apply for the open source program, we get the gold tier, which we should be able to get. We should have we should be using just about half of it, up to 25,000, I reckon. So I feel confident there. Have we got the same figures for GitHub Actions?
They don't. They don't have an usage limit in that way. There's nothing I can see about minutes. It just says from the free plan, 20 concurrent jobs. And each workflow can only run for 72 hours at the most, which is,
that we're never going to hit that, hopefully. Well, none of our things take anything near that time. So roughly,
I'm sorry, each job can run for 6 hours, but right. And then the workflow, which means all the jobs, can run for 72 hours.
Right.
So 6. Again, we're going nowhere near 6 hours.
It's more so what we're really worried about is how much do we get per month per group. For the whole organization, how many minutes do we get?
I can't see any
reference
to that.
Okay, so at the moment, we don't know much about what GitHub's saying. This 50,000, I believe, is going to be more than enough for our current usage. Yeah, I think we'll hit about half of that. And I think we will get figures. They did say that the figures are available, aren't they? What's the way of checking it again? GitLab check usage. Check. I have seen this somewhere before, but that's not it. Okay, you know, we're
Go
talking too
back,
much
go to
about.
that Reddit page. Check quota usage.
Yeah, I found it somewhere else. I wasn't. Okay, let's have a look. Just wondering if that's okay. So they're suggesting this over here. You see, for my own, this is my own side. So
Hmm.
how do I get to SaltStack? So I'm using this quite a lot, and obviously because all my projects are open source, they're they're not using my allocation of 2,000, which apparently should be changed to 400 soon. But that's not important. Let's not get distracted. How do we check this for the actual group? Hmm.
What about going up to group at the top?
Yeah,
Your
but I'm just
groups.
your, sorry, where's your groups? You mean up here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just talking out loud here.
See, how do you now get the usage for this? Oh, there we go. Hopefully this is it. Right. It's not telling.
0 of unlimited minutes.
Yeah. 0 of unlimited, it's saying. Shared runners are disabled, so there's no limit set on pipeline usage. So there's a lot to look at behind the scenes to figure out where all this is. In the
Hmm.
meantime, I think there's no clear indication which one we should go to in terms of these things. Let's go back to the main discussion. Let's go back to these pipelines and how they're all configured and stuff. So I've sort of showed you how it's run. And like I said, it's triggered from GitHub, comes through to GitLab, does the pipeline, and it works in the same way as Travis. I can show you a pull request in a little bit if we get a chance. Looking at the actual code, I just want to just go through this sort of almost line by line, just to make sure that just so you guys see anything, and it also gives me a chance to see how it compares with Travis, what we've got over here. So something I just prefer to do is the things that might change lower down um, from the sort of settings, if you like. I like to put them at the top here, or things that are reused. So you see that things like the lint job and release job are reused in different entries. So I just stick them at the top here. So these are the stages we're running. And the images, obviously we're pulling certain Docker images to do certain things. And what I've done in the meantime, as I was working through this process, I've made some custom images that are based upon things that are already out there, just to make it a little bit easier for our usage so that we don't have to install anything. Because what I was finding is I was putting in a certain commit lint image or whatever I was using, and then I had to install certain software in there. So I've done those in my Docker Hub, which we can also transfer over here. These four over here are available. These could be put into salt images later on if they prove to be working okay. So going back here, so they're their images there. Obviously, the commit lint one is clear. The Docker in Docker Ruby image, so that's the ones that we're using for each kitchen test. It pulls that image there so that it's got everything inside configured to run what we normally have for kitchen testing and stuff. Pre-commit, and this is something like I was talking to Javier about this separately. The source pre-commit image I'm pulling from, it runs pre-commit as its entry point, and I haven't been able to figure out how to actually use it um, directly because it's not picking up the repo underneath. So if anyone, if we go with this at some point, that'd be great if we can figure out how to do this rather than having to drop down to Bash and running it manually. It's not a big thing, but it would be good if we could figure that out. And semantic release, the version numbers here are the version number of the main sort of program inside each image. So obviously commit lint that's the node version that we're pulling there. So it's commit lint 11. This is the Ruby version that's available in that image. This is the pre-commit version. I think you were running 2.71 over here. Where is it? Yeah, 2.71. And here we've got 2.92. And we can obviously keep either ways. It's the same thing. It needs to be adjusted once in a while. And semantic release, we're still stuck on 15.14. And there was a reason for that. I can dig it out, but there was a problem after that version. But we'll stick with that. So I'm just doing a straight translation for now.
Hmm.
As we see at the bottom here, we're using 15.14 across all of our repos. So it's doing the same thing over there. And this isn't, I don't think this is used. Oh no, it is used, sorry. That's used for semantic release. So when you only want to run a job for a particular branch, for example, then obviously you have to set up your stages. That's the 3 stages that we run. That's the Docker in Docker driver. This is where it starts. Let's compare these. So these don't really apply for the GitLab side of things. That's being achieved by the Docker images that we're pulling in. Services Docker is, I'll show you that in a minute over this side. That's only again relevant to the testing itself, not to any of these other stages. And yep, we'll get to that in a minute. So commit lint, very straightforward. Pull in the image, and it finds the last connecting part using this. It finds the last place where the fork that you've just or the branch you've made, where it branches away from the master branch, and it just does the from and to based upon that, and it gives us the same commit lint results that we're used to in Travis. Pre-commit, pretty straightforward. Again, got the caching available here as well, so we have to use an adjusted pre-commit home. GitLab CI doesn't have access to anything outside of the working directory. So if you look over here, where's home? The caching we use for pre-commit over here is based upon the home value, and in GitLab that evaluates to root. We can't use that, so we have to adjust the pre-commit home, and that then works. Then the caching works as expected. Okay, so we set that environment variable there, and just across the whole pipeline, the caches are used across the whole pipeline. So you need to have a key here that's used. Otherwise, what can end up happening is you can overwrite the cache. So in this job over here, if I go to our pipeline, where is it? So if you imagine, let's say it ran top to bottom. If I've got a cache in commit lint and I just save it under, say, I don't give a key, the pre-commit, if it has a cache, will overwrite the commit lint one, and then when this one runs, that'll overwrite the one from before it. So in order to keep the caches relevant to each job, you have to set a key. So I've done that wherever necessary, so that it's reused across further jobs as we set them. Further pipelines will use the cache that we've saved in our last job, for example. Yeah. Is that fairly straightforward? And then just running the one pre-commit command, because we don't have to install it anymore because that's in our Docker container. It just runs that command. And like I said, the commit lint is done in this job over here. That lint stage is straightforward. Yeah. I haven't had time to work out how to put this into a proper matrix. I know there's something like that, so we can figure out how to do that at some point. But otherwise, this is how you, for each particular job in our list down here below, all it does, we define the matrix in our matrix, how we're doing it over here. We do it in almost exactly the same way. And all we do, we point it back to the template above. So the same what's the word called? What's this called again?
Instance name.
That's the one. Thank you. Yep. The same instance is pushed through and using this template over here, and runs it pretty much how we do it in Travis. Just clarifying here. So that's test. It uses the Docker in Docker Ruby image. There's the services, like I was saying above. This matches up with services Docker over here. And likewise, we've got caching over here for bundler, which Travis does simply like that. We have to do it with a bit more involvement, where again, we have to override the cache path because we have to put it inside the working directory. So we set those paths over here by running bundle config. The without isn't that important. I was just putting it in there in case we ever do need it, because we don't have production gems anyway. But I've put them in there just in case we ever do need it in the future. Again, we're caching and we're doing it. Am I right in assuming that across every one of these jobs, the actual gems will be identical, won't they? I can't think of a reason why they'll be different across any of these jobs.
No,
Is that correct?
Um,
We don't need caching for each one of these, do we? We need caching
no,
across.
because they all run off the same lock file,
Yeah. So there's no.
gem
I'm just. Yeah.
gem
I just want to.
file.
Right. Great. So I don't want to make assumption. I mean, that was an assumption I made. Not an assumption. I was pretty sure of it, but just want to confirm that. So we're doing it for the whole stage. This one over here was done per name, the actual job's name in GitLab, but this one's done for the whole stage. So that what it does, it uses it throughout the whole stage, and then for subsequent pipelines, use the same gem set, and obviously they're updated at the end of the job. So if there are any updates, that will be pushed through to the cache anyway. And yeah, as I said, yeah, I wasn't able to figure out why it wasn't picking these things up automatically, because if you use these environment variables, it's supposed to do it automatically. It wasn't working, so I just explicitly run bundle config, uh, the bundle config set, so that it actually uses them. Install the bundle, install the gems, and then run our verify using the GitLab provided environment variable for the job name. Straightforward for now. Is that clear enough?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Then just the thing, hopefully all of this will be able to be put into the SSF formula, and it will provide this whole section here, which is identical effectively to this over here. Yeah. And then we get down to the release at the bottom. And actually this one's a bit cleaner now because we're using a container for it. The container does all these bits and pieces, such as grabbing the maintainer Go package. It's got all the node packages installed as well in it already. And so simply we just need to run the actual semantic release command, apart from obviously updating authors, which again we have to do. Well, that one's okay. That's got nothing to do with the root directory. That's fine. So it just runs semantic release once it supplies the GitHub token, so it can do all the processing. And we need to see how that pushes the job back to OpenVPN. So in the front end, if we go over here, that last job I just ran 29 minutes ago, you'll see it operates in the same way. It pushes it through as expected. All the changes that you're used to, such as authors and changelog, they're all affected as well with the last set of changes. So I just go to the commit, you should be able to see it. Yeah. Is there anything? Okay, so anything so far that you can see and the notifications, by the way, that's been done. The webhook for GitLab is actually configured inside GitLab itself. It's not done via the YAML file. So that's been done. So you'll see the Zulip. Where's my Zulip? The Zulip here, it shows our updates over here. As the only problem is it does it for every bit of it. So it shows you when it creates it, it shows you when it starts it, and then so each pipeline will have maybe 4 outputs in Zulip, which will be a bit harder to follow, but at least it gives us all the links that we might need. Whereas the one from Travis I was finding doesn't give you everything you need. It's nice to see that though. So I might actually put a PR through to Zulip to show the symbols, just to get a bit of a you can see it straight away rather than having to read the actual
Mm-hmm.
text. And the Zulip folk are quite quick with their PRs anyway, so hopefully that could be put in just to make this a bit easier to read. Anything so far? Any queries so far?
No, well, I mean, we'd obviously have to have a closer look at it, but no, it looks fine so far.
Now, the biggest problem, other than the minutes thing, which I think hopefully we've solved, is that every GitHub formula that we're going to use has to have a mirrored repository in GitLab. I'm hoping and expecting that should be able to be done with the API rather than having to do that manually. I'm pretty sure most of it will be able to be done with the GitLab API, but that I've got to test,
Mm-hmm.
which will be my next stage. But other than that, I can't see any potential hiccups with this. There is one more. I remembered. There's that 5-minute limit, like I said to you, is what you could have. If I go over here, is it under? Which page is it under? Oh, mirroring, is that the one? Yep. So this was actually set up automatically by following the instructions that GitLab gives. To once you run the steps that GitLab says, it does all this for you. I didn't set up the mirroring. So this is actually limited to 5 minutes. So if you were, for example, to push a PR through to a branch, so you've got your branch, you push a PR through to a formula, and then you push again within the next couple of minutes, that pipeline won't run for 5 minutes, meaning the first one will be running, and then it'll be 5 minutes before the second one kicks off. I don't see that as the end of the world. I don't think that's massively a big deal, because all we care about really is the last pipeline that runs, and that's the one that will actually show up in GitHub anyway. Do you know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying? It won't run immediately, but it will take 5 minutes to pick up the change from the GitHub side.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you can see there that could be problematic?
No, I don't think
I
so.
don't know. 5 minutes seems a long time.
You can't configure it. 5 minutes is the minimum. If you look behind this,
5 minutes between
Yeah.
it's catching up on pushes. Is that what you?
Yeah. Basically, it does it automatically, but if you're pushing again within 5 minutes, it'll take 5 minutes for that push to get through to the GitLab side and run the actual CI. But that's only if you're
Is
doing
that
push.
what it's saying there? If you manually trigger, but
No, you can't. I've tried it. So if I was
you
to
try.
trigger what, if I was to trigger one now, it'll do a pipeline. But if I triggered it again within 5 minutes, it won't do anything until the 5 minutes are up. I don't see a problem with it. When I was playing with pull requests and stuff, at first I got caught out by it. But when I checked it and I thought, well, actually, it's not going to affect me at the end as the end user very much. I think the only thing it would be is the commit lint, and even that actually is done. We have a separate job for that in GitHub anyway. So if you look at where's our GitHub pipeline? This one over here. No, not that one there. Let me see if I can get to it. You know what I mean, don't you? Like our actual GitHub front end has a separate check for commit lint anyway. That's a GitHub action over here. So that feedback is still going to come immediately. So what the question, I think, let me frame it better. What feedback does the user need from the CI that 5 minutes would be a problem? Because the pre-commit they've got locally if they need it, if they're interested, and they've got the commit lint, which is going to be there in GitHub anyway.
I don't know. I would have to play around with it to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only problem I see is that if you push and see that you make a mistake and try to push again, you have to wait. But that's okay. This
You know, actually in Travis as well, there was a setting that we did put in, but what it used to do is it used to run both. Let me see if I can show you what I mean. It's only I figured it out quite a lot later, but there was a setting that you had to set. You had to go through and actually auto cancel. These were not set across all the repos. And I've just done it again there. So it was still a similar problem we was having in Travis anyway, where the builds weren't actually being done until the last one completed anyway, if you know what I mean. I don't know if it's going to be I don't know how many people actually really pay much attention to the CI in the first place other than ourselves.
I don't think they do.
Okay, no, I
Most
just
people will just push and
yeah.
wait that somebody tells them, okay, there's an issue or something. Most of the times we find jobs that fail the test and they just sit there waiting for somebody to tell the submitter, okay, please fix this.
Yeah, even the commit lint, even that separate GitHub action that I thought would help, sort of try to address the commit issues. I don't think people really see it. And again, until one of us comes along, and if the main core team knows what's going on, I don't think there's one more problem, and there's a possible solution, and that is for your own personal testing, you'd have to set up. So each one of us would have to set up our own forks as well to get this. If you want your own pipeline, so your fork of the OpenVPN formula, you'd need to set that up as well. So that is a hassle, except if we can figure out how to do it from the API and have a little script available that someone can use and just automatically set that all up for themselves. I think that's the biggest hassle of all that I see, is that a person who wants to run their own pipelines on it will have to set up their forks in GitLab, or they can just use our one. That's the thing. That's what they cost. Just set up a pull request and just keep pushing, and you'll see the results anyway. So you don't have to do that, but it's only if you want to do your own local testing. Not local, you know what I mean. If you want to do your own fork, testing your own forks.
But you can test locally anyway.
You can test locally anyway, and you can test using the organization CI. But if a person wants to test using their own fork, they'd have to set up the GitLab mirroring, which I'm hoping and believing should be able to be done from the API, or there should be something available out there that already does that. It's only about 4 steps, but you don't want to do those 4 steps. You just want to get on with you just want to push things through and get on with things. I can imagine that the only thing that's really worth doing at this stage is actually getting this out to one of the formulas. Any particular formulas that you can see that would stretch this to the limit? Anything that has specific customization?
Well, I mean, OpenVPN formula is probably suitable.
Okay, because since I've already got it here anyway, you mean as well?
Got it, and I don't know. We could probably also do the Windows testing in GitLab as well. I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't think it'd be as good as what you've already done in the GitHub Actions, because like you said, that VM that they provide is just fully featured. It's got everything.
Yeah, you're right.
Does GitLab actually have GitLab CI Windows? Does it even have it?
It does. I haven't used it, but
they do have it. Now that's on Windows, but I think you've done a great job there, and I don't see why we have to move that as well, especially if we're limited to certain numbers of minutes.
Oh, I mean, I'm interested in having it all in one place as one pipeline, if possible.
Okay. Well, we can look at that a bit later. Let's see if this is even going to. We need to fix this main problem we've got, which is none of our formulas are being tested at the moment. That's a big problem. So I think getting a solution out there, and I won't do anything radical like do it across many formulas. I think by the next time we need to have at least a few formulas running with this GitLab setup, and in that time I can work out what that means for from the angle of my SSF formula. We can I know one we could do. We could do I can't even pronounce it. Arvados formula. How do you pronounce that, Javier?
Arvados.
Okay, so that formula there, I think since you also need it, I think maybe I could look at that formula and put that through fairly soon. What do you think?
It will be great. It does a lot of testing. It runs a bunch of things, so it might be a good use case.
A good candidate for it as well.
Yep.
So I think that's one of the things we can do is get a few formulas running, and I wouldn't, I think it'd be good to see one of the formulas with GitHub Actions containers, so then we'll get a really good comparison. I mean, is there any particular formula? I don't think we should do the template, of course. Is there another formula you could select and we could do the testing there using the GitHub?
Yeah, my Vault formula. Well, not mine, but
the
Vault formula.
I think Javier was saying something.
Yeah, sorry, and I'm remembering that. Remember the packages formula that used to have issues with snap packages?
Oh yeah.
We can try that one too.
Do you think the snap issue? I thought the snap issue was actually with snap itself, not with the actual.
It has something to do with Docker, if I recall correctly.
Okay. Okay, so we're looking at.
You can see that.
All right, so I've got about 3 formulas there you've given me, and I can try and roll it out on each one of them and try to standardize looking at how how the SSF formula is going to need to be adjusted to be able to provide the GitLab CI.yaml. And I think, yeah, like we did with Cirrus, we had a couple of formulas that are running Cirrus instead of Travis, and it was good to have that comparison, because sometimes when I needed to, I used to actually do some separate testing in Cirrus just to compare to see how well they're running. I tried Cirrus, by the way. I tried Cirrus with this.
Hmm.
I was looking for a quick fix, and I was like, can we? I don't think I've got my link here. I don't think. Let's see. Now, give me one of my formulas here. It's not the best front end either. So hard to navigate around. How do I get to it? All right, there we go. So I did try to run. I was thinking if we could do this, is the first thing I tried. I was like, can we just get it running in Cirrus and that'll be a quick fix? But unfortunately, there's some issue. I could talk to these guys and find out what this is. But since the new set of gems the last gem file lock that I updated, we're starting to get this error over here. So has anyone ever noticed this one? Any ideas about this?
No.
Never seen that before. I could talk to them and see that, but I just don't see why it's worth maybe going to them, because we did have some issues with Cirrus in the sense that it wasn't the fastest at all, and there was no caching available. So I'm proposing.
Yeah, I mean, GitLab is probably the most well kind of rounded solution, I would imagine.
And the most mature at the ones we have available.
Yeah, mature, yeah.
Because obviously GitHub Actions is still some time to go until we can be sure what's happening over there. So 3 formulas there that I can do. If you could have a look at the Vault formula, David, and see how that looks, and actually get it converted. Let's convert it over and see what happens.
Okay.
And that's and we can just obviously talk about how this is all progressing as we go along. Was there anything else about this that we needed to look at? Why have I got all these tabs open? Just if there was anything else I wanted to mention about this. Did you have a look at any of the other CI options available? I looked around and I was thinking about Jenkins for a little while, but that would mean running our own instance of it somewhere. Javier, you were saying something about Jenkins when we were talking. Any feedback about that?
No, I'm just using at work. To be honest, I prefer GitLab.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it can do everything we need, and it will get us through at this particular stage where we're stuck. And like I said, our image builder is there anyway, and it just is nice to keep everything in one place. And the advantage of GitLab, I think I mentioned this in Slack, is we always thought it'd be nice to have our formulas in both sides anyway. So by having our formulas being forked into that organization and the GitLab side, we're actually providing formulas on that side as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only, sorry? Yeah, you agree. Yeah. Your volume's a little bit low, Javier. Can't always pick you up. But I was going to say is the only issue would be on this, and I'm just mentioning this in case I get around to watching this again to remind myself, this semantic release here wouldn't run properly in GitLab itself. So if someone tried, we'd have to make some sort of way of making it clear that the CI we're setting up in GitLab is geared towards GitHub. So geared towards having your actual formulas in GitHub. The reason being is this semantic release. Okay, I've got this open somewhere. I know I have. Oh, there it is. Right. So these are the actual 4 containers. Not containers. Yes, they are containers. What am I talking about? The ones that I've based upon, the ones that I was showing you from our GitLab CI.yaml. If you look over here at the semantic release one over here, this section over here, it's installing the various node packages we need. There's actually a specific one for GitLab if you want to perform GitLab releases. It's actually what we're using in the image builder, which is actually our image builder is Yeah, our image builder is actually pushing the releases onto the GitLab pages, and that uses another node package, which is GitLab. So this is using GitHub by default. So since this container hasn't got GitLab in it, when we do have a fork in GitLab, no one can fork that directly into GitLab and then expect the CI to work immediately. So we'd have to have some sort of clarity about that. Do you understand the point I'm raising? It's not the clearest point.
Yeah, I understand.
So while we're in GitLab, it won't be GitLab for GitLab formulas, but it'll be GitLab for using with GitHub
GitHub.
formulas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we can adjust that. I'm sure there'll be a way of setting up another container here, which is semantic release for GitLab, and just having that minor adjustment available. In fact, it wouldn't even need anything. I think, if I'm right, it would actually work straight away. Yeah, I'm just thinking, was there anything I set in there that was specific to GitHub? There might have been a setting somewhere I vaguely remember that was GitHub specific, but we can make those adjustments over time. I don't think it's a lost cause that we could have forking off our actual repos in GitLab into GitLab itself and actually work out of the box. It just means some messing around with your script for use this, the use this formula
Oh,
button
right,
on
yeah.
GitHub. Maybe a few minor adjustments there, and we should have it. Although then the next thing goes, how do we work that in the template formula in GitLab? I guess all of this again, I'm talking in a lot of depth here. As we do it, I think we'll figure it out. But the first stage is just to get this out there to a few formulas and confirm it's working as expected. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Any other issues that we need to cover today? Oh, and obviously we need to apply to this as soon as possible. So I'll definitely try to get onto that as soon as possible and let them know that we need this, at least this part, quite urgently, just to be clear, just to make sure we don't end up running out of minutes in any way.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. So any other points for today, or are we done for today?
Well, I don't think much has been happening the last few weeks, has there?
I think since this CI broke, I think that stopped everything.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to get on with the stuff that Daniel had sent through
Sure.
for the map ginger verification and the version 5, but couldn't test anything. As in, I wanted to test it out there. I didn't want to sit there running everything on my machine. So if we get this out there, I can go back to that. Anything else though, Javier? It's just you said that you were stuck with your formula that needed this CI running, right? That's the main thing for you as well.
Yeah, they were asking me for some changes and I couldn't try them. But I did some local runs and just
Yeah,
use
Javier
the
was
semantic
actually this.
release to get the version
It's,
in.
it's it's worth mentioning this because what you done was nice to see. Is obviously because the CI is not running, Javier was able to manually run it locally. How did you do it exactly? You run it in your own container and then you pushed it through here.
Yeah, I just use my GitHub and run the same lines that the script does, only in a container. So basically, we can do the same from GitHub. It would be the same for the semantic release in this case that I
Yeah.
simulated.
So it basically the finding is up to this point here. This was being run by our CI automatically, but since it wasn't doing anything recently, Javier was able to pull it into his own container and then push it out over here in the same way. So it's good to know that we've got a manual option available if we ever need it for a specific formula. We can actually run.
That's on your own local machine, have you? Running a container on your own local machine, is that right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I did.
Okay.
But then it was actually able to push it up to from that container itself. It pushes it back to start stack formulas, and as you see, obviously it'll only be someone who has push access available to the formula that could do it. But that's at least any of us. We need that for one of our formulas, or
Mm-hmm.
someone else needs it. We can run it manually in the meantime if there's an urgency. So that's good to know that that's available. But hopefully it won't take long. I think most of the hard work has been done. It's just a matter of now getting it out there and see what happens.
Sure. Well done. Thanks for your productivity over the weekend. I noticed
Yeah,
you
no, I had
opened a
no
pull request, didn't you?
pull request. Did I? Oh yeah, by
Yeah,
mistake. Yeah, by mistake. Yeah, I was because when you try to set a pull request in your own fork, it
yeah.
assumes that you're trying to
I've
push it,
done it before. Yeah.
and I just hit the button without looking, and I was like, oh, that's not right. I thought that's going to go all wrong, and it was an ugly pull request as well. Had my initial working, which was a complete mess, but that's
Oh,
great.
I didn't look. I didn't look at it.
Oh, you can see it's there. I can't hide it now, but it was. I started with a salt image builder, CI, and I was converting it bit by bit. But no, thank you as well that you've done GitHub Actions, because Javier was actually saying that we were having a bit of a chat, and he was saying if we can get this running in GitHub Actions, it might make a lot of sense, which I agree with. I can see that being very, very useful. Um, so it'd be good to see how that goes as well. So thank you for that.
No problem.
Great. So we'll catch up, I guess, in 2 weeks' time. It is 2 weeks for the next meeting, isn't it?
It is. I think it's the 22nd or something. I mean, I'm just assuming possibly not
Yes.
many people will be around.
Okay. How is that for you guys? The 22nd.
I mean, I can probably do it, but at the same time, if there was no meeting, I wouldn't. It wouldn't
Yeah.
concern me too much.
Yeah, I understand. How about you, Javier?
I will probably be here, so no problem. If we have the meeting, I probably will be there.
Okay. I think what we'll do, we'll assume it's going to be there because we don't know what the other guys are going to say. I think you're right; they may not be around, but in that case, I mean, I guess we can keep updates going on in Slack anyway, and wherever else. Were there any questions? Because like I said, there was someone else. Was there anything mentioned in the comments or
No.
no? All right then. So let's keep in touch and see how things go, and hopefully by the next time we do catch up, there'll be some substance to all of this.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, no
It
problem
was
at all.
great.
Take care,
Good work.
guys.
Okay. Cheers.
Thank
No
you
problem.
guys.
Take care.
Goodbye.
Bye.